back through the middle sector. Through 9-10, able to get the pass on back as they go through the sweeping turn 11. Back to the Sens on the inside through 12 and 13 here. 2:06 Masters continue to fight. They're side by side. Back to the front goes Roderick. Wilbur again, forced to reset. Levi Wilbur needs to pick up a bit more of a pole. It's going to come down to those passes by 7 on the way to 13 possibly. Seen a couple into 1 though on the final time around. Wilbur gets crossed up by Roderick on the Sen. Side by side, the RRD machine goes back to the front. Wilbur with the crossback up through 3 and 4, takes it back. Now Roderick with the inside takes it right back again towards 6. Is that where Wilbur wants him though? Wilbur has the draft. Will he go for a deep lunge? Yes, he will. Levi Wilbur crossed up again. Roderick going on the outside. Up through 8 to 9. Roderick getting the squeeze, gets the clearance on Wilbur. Wilbur pushed back as they make their way to 11, and here comes Bocchino and Ashcraft right back at it too. AJ Roderick might have the distance here. Wilbur needs a massive run. It's taken until past the start and finish line to get the runs today. Wilbur shuffling, looks behind, asks for help, goes defensive, doesn't trust that they'll not go first and themselves with the run. Well, AJ Roderick gets it done. There was a look for second, but Wilbur got it regardless. Bocchino and Ashcraft are the top 4 with Brian Williams down in the 5th position. J. Brian Williams survives the pressure in his pack. Connell down in 6th. Elliot Bocchino goes up 3 as your biggest mover in the 7th spot. Eric King, Michael Golan, followed by Gary Machiko, and Ryan Curtin ends up off the racetrack, remember, with the contact. Sees him well down the order as a result of that scuffle that happened. That might get it interesting with race control with the 490. Take a quick break. Race 1 in the books. Race 2 for the heats continue. It's the micros up next.
When it comes to innovation on the track, Odenthal Racing Products leads the pack. From the highly popular EasyGP camera mounts to our tough case to GoPro case, racers everywhere trust ORP for strength, reliability, and precision. We're proud to be the #1 engine mount manufacturer in the USA. And with our new Easy Bumper Retainer System, you won't get caught out with a failed bumper bolt again. Odenthal Racing Products. Lead or get left behind.
Wins the Wisconsin Grand Prix! James Overbeck on start number 2 gets win #1 in OKN Stars.
On track or off, Brandon Jarsekrak Racing delivers elite performance. Led by 4-time Pro National Champion Brandon Jarsekrak, our team masters driver coaching, data-driven analysis, and mechanical precision at every national event. Contact us today at BrandonJarsekrakracing.com.
Karting isn't just speed. It's control, precision, freedom. At Atlanta Motorsports Park, Kart Freedom isn't just a team. It's where drivers are made.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Our next group of drivers just moments away from hitting the racetrack here on Kart Chaser. Briggs Micro are all set to go. We put up some interesting numbers in the qualifying session earlier today. When it came to the micros, it was an interesting one in the fact that we've seen at least 3 drivers not take a time that were on the entry list. Remember, we have some racing this weekend, but next, remember, the Pro Am Karting Championship has some doubleheader action with MCC Cincinnati at the same time as Champions of the Future and TSRX and Indy Karting Challenge. It's a quad over weekend. Next time out on Kart Chaser, be sure to join KC Premium today to watch all those at the exact same time with all the audio playing, because that'll allow you to focus on boarding the tracks at the same time. Kuiper Nelson was the driver who set the pole time, by the way, in the RRD entry. Ava Hamill was second earlier in qualifying. Miles Hale, Wyatt Burlsman, Clement Blue, Wyatt Nelson, Rhett Blue, Toby and Rhett for the order of the Blues. Harrison Fitcher were the 9 who set qualifying efforts earlier today. And depending on how things go, remember, James Fox would be 10th, Jude Boss would be 11th, Remy Boss would be 12th out of those who did not take part to set their order for the heat races, at least today. Looks like we got a sizable amount of karts on the racetrack. Regardless, though, they're all set to battle it on out. Remember, championship conversation for the micros still sees Fox, depending on the drops, being the favorite today. Remy Boss need a massive effort trying to overpower a potential drop from Fox. But the karts are through to the tram lines. There's a little bit of offset there. They're running pretty quickly through it. Clock is rolling off and away with contact. Hamill pushed back. Ava getting shuffled to the wayside to start. As you can see, we had 10 drivers take the start. Jude Boss did take the green, but the other 2, that we mentioned, who were your top 2 in points, did not. So that may potentially clinch things already for Fox, depending over the course of the weekend what they do. They are on property, confirmed over the qualifying sessions, but maybe focusing on the various their ventures. We'll see what happens there in terms of the storyline. We'll keep you up to date if we can on that. Nelson, though, part of those off that early fight. Look at the gap already. Remember, Nelson was as high as 8-9 tenths on fire off. Hale running in second in top kart equipment. Looks like drivers like Hamill trying to get back in line. They do. Ava looking to get the support to keep on developing. Again, these micro drivers just younger into their driving careers. Looking to figure out the track, but also figure out the ways to get speed. A lot of them are taking the grass into turn 1 this race, though. Few competitors carrying a little bit too much speed possibly through 1 and are dropping left side tires and chewing away that grass to start, making a little divots. Hearing, again, we talked about one of the bosses is on the racetrack in Jude, so one of the 2 bosses is competing at the moment for today's action. Jude looking to try and come from the back here after not taking part of qualifying, specifically his 8th in points. Is actually a pretty close battle with a couple drivers that are here and or not here. Nelson is here, looking to take advantage of the drop up at the front. Was second every single race in the last round at G&J. Then you also have Sam Robinson not here. Wyatt Burlsman is here. Some of the drivers go forward on. There's the change for second. Hamill getting through, and look at the 3 wide. Hale under attack, a couple different angles. Burlsman trying to go the inside at the very least. In contact, Burlsman takes the jump. Goes right back into the racing line after wheel-to-wheel contact with the 293 of Cleveland. Just a few minutes burned off the clock so far, part of the 7-minute race. what is a little bit more of a calmer run outside of, you know, a kart deciding to press the jump button. Talk about some of the drivers in terms of Hamill, particularly, who's getting the chance to pull away here, making a Team 1-2. Usually runs over at Road America, actually, for some of the club races in recent months, but also took part in a couple of racing divisions that have crossed across the north. First start in Apex competition this year. It's one of those that is, again, trying to go outside of just running the club scene, build the reputation at the regional and national levels, get some opportunities there to build the confidence as the racing career grows for Ava. Right now, turning 116.5s in that second pack, with Nelson running 116.1s. The gap at the very front of the field. See a couple of descends up the inside. That's going to feature Hale. Hale gets it done. 2:15. Miles able to make the pass. Again, another one of the familiar names if you follow on with the racing action, more so towards some of the Indiana tracks, actually, considering with K1 Circuit Whiteland and at Newcastle, runs all the club races there. He's ran a ton of them since the last round of Midwest back in June. Was a middle-of-the-pack driver last time at G&J. It's also top 5 in micro in general, the normal micro class, in terms of the KA engines, should say, as well. So, trying to venture out to a different state. A few hour drive here and there across the region of Ohio. So far, it's doing pretty solid. Has been one of the better drivers we've seen from qualifying in the warm-ups as well. It's crossed up out of the preparation that took place all throughout yesterday to build up speed. Here comes an attempt, maybe? No. Hamill elects to stay in line. Clement stays in the line in the 293. Good sense of patience after the bit of contact earlier, but remember, Burlesman remembers that. Already over the rear end of the 293, trying to do something. Mind you, for Clyde in that 4th position, just the 3rd race this year. Hasn't raced too much in terms of the statistical marks, at least. Doesn't include any other local tracks, potentially, but has raced mainly Apex Midwest this year. Last year, ran most of the national races and some races up in the northern region. Same can be said of previous times. So kind of has put the focus on trying to prioritize and maximize the regional starts. Here's the group, by the way, that's going on 8 seconds back. This features the Blues, Tubby and Rhett. Wyatt Nelson is also in the conversation. Funny thing is, you would think if their name is Blue with the last name, one of them would be blue in terms of the kart. You have teal, green, and you have red. That being said, they're both racing are pretty hard. Rhett nearly went off the racetrack trying to make the pass. Look. You can see that all cost Rhett a ton of time as a result of that initial send attempt. And now, Nelson has a lot of opportunities to maybe try and do something here. When you see the name Twin Turbo, 99% chance there may or may not be twins involved, but now the twins are broken up, the Twin Turbo karts. Now look at the turbo boost. They also took the Lizzie design from the sports car side of racing with the lizard look on the front end of those blue karts. We're at 2 laps to go, by the way. Look at some of the battling still for second. Hale got shuffled back last scoring loop. Now we'll look to try to retake it and looks to squeeze down to the marbles. Kleeman went all the way down the track because of that squeeze down through the dirt. A lot of dirt picked up on the left side of the track at that part of the circuit, especially up through 8. And it's cost him. This may have just handed Hamill the second spot on a silver platter. Coming up to the white flag this time by as Nelson looks to close out what has been a dominant start to the day. The micro class. Looks to be today a difficult one to beat in the, at least in this Briggs package, the RRD carts, because they've been contending at least 3 different classes to start off the morning. Right now the pressure is on still for Hamill to hold on to second. Bit of a slider for the 4th spot. Crossed up a Brosman. Now a send up for second. Hale gets the inside of 8. Is there a chance for Hamill to make a pass back though? Trying to take a little bit of a cut through 11. The answer is not yet. Hamill trying something. Might have to come down to the final straightaway here. Tried it a little bit earlier than that. It was near contact at 12, and that might be the deal for Hale for second. Checker flag getting ready to wave. 2 heat races, 2 team wins. Nelson wins heat 1. Second spot goes to Hale. Third, with that send attempt from Hamill, pushes Burlesman up onto the top 3. Hamill down to the 4th spot, Kleeman in a 5th position. Then the Blues of Toby and Rhett, 6th and 7th. Nelson in 8th, Pitcher in 9th, and Boss had a bit of struggles there. Down the order is in 10th. 10 karts hit the racetrack for the Briggs micro class, and we see a little bit of squabbling and then some in that battle for second. But Nelson's proving that kart's going to be difficult to beat today. At the 2:30 entry, there is Jude Boss to close up the group. But as you can see on the other side of that fencing, a lot of conversations going on. A part of your senior class, the biggest one on property, 33 took part in qualifying. This is going to be a pretty wild race. They're already pretty pumped up, regardless of whatever team it seems you are in terms of racing suits. They're scheduled to start at approximately 10:30. Doing 15-minute time buffers for each of the classes here today in the heat races to make sure they have enough time to get through said races without any issues. One thing to note, just got the word in terms of the chassis side when it comes to some of the karts here today. We mentioned some of the names mixed in that we're expecting speed from. We'll talk about this later on. Some of the various drivers testing out the different chassis this weekend. See where the speed comes in. That'll be more alluded to in the junior side. But the seniors are being told to get into their karts and fire those motors. As they get all set to get rolling here, taking a look at how things were in qualifying. Remember, 7 different drivers didn't qualify, including Mason Ward and Holden Harder among some of the names. Randall Potter was on the list as well and didn't put up a time. Not sure that may be. We had a couple drivers have to go to their second best as well as a result of things picked up during qualifying. But one thing was constant. Sam Totwaller was the quickest over Mark Steele and Henry Wheeler. Those 3 Going to be interesting to watch. Then you have drivers that have raced a fair bit in this region coming up. The 206 senior. Curl edging Wilkie in the order earlier on. They'll hit the track now. Owen Malley in the top 6. Beckham Lewis, time with the second best in 7. Zach Cosio will be in 8th position. Chase Adams down in 9th. Brady Eckhoff down in 10th. Connor Holes and Landon Mull in the top 12. Emily DeMaster 13th. Carson Benjamin 14th. Addison Ionello is down in 15th, with James Stropko going down to second best for row 8 outside. Clay O'Brien went to a second best time. That ended up being a couple tenths pushed back because there were a lot of ties actually for those second best markers. Logan Hickman down in 18th. Kevin Weiss and Keegan Whitmire, part of the top 20. Ryder Nesbitt, followed by Pat Jeanman. You also have Gavin Isaacs, Colton Kelly, Lucian Laser, Mason Surgener, Aiden Shoemaker, Wyatt Katoto, Landon Ashcraft, Scott Kleeman. Then you have F.A. Yogan Siller, followed by Chloe McKenzie, Nolan Holiday, Nicholas Kiefer. And remember, that does not include some of the drivers that did not take times, like Bartovs, Bazinski. You also have Mick Gabriel, Randall Potter, Tristan Altman, Mason Ward, and Holden Harder. Let's start towards the tail with a 40 kart entry list, max entry list today. Potter and Mick Gabriel were part of the entry list. We can tell you did not make it to the facility. We alluded to this. Potter was not a part of the promotional details for RRD for this weekend. But the drivers themselves that are here are ready to put on some good battles. Get your camera ready. This is about to get wild. Briggs Senior, the 206 platform, in its third heat of the morning. Off and away we go. And a good start up the inside line as everybody runs on the rumble strip in the grass on the left side. Some 3 wide at the back of the field, but it's calm to start up front. Immediately, Sam Totweiler keeping command, but look at that. Henry Wheeler took over the second spot with the start line. No one going for immediate sends on the opening lap, it looks like. You have a mix of Steele, Roderick, and Rocketex, a part of the top 4 that were in the order here today. A little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact to assist some of the drivers here in this opening group to see if they can get the draft to work. Now the big thing is going to be, who's the first to make a move? How about Wilkie going for one? Does so in a 14. That causes the pack to break up for a moment. They'll get back in the line after that side-by-side attempt. First 2 up at the front, working together really nicely though. Totweiler and Wheeler, they've always worked pretty well together when we see them in the Briggs engine package. Of course, we see Wheeler a lot of the national scene too in a variety of different classifications. Today, looking pretty fast to start. As you see some of the air groups. You have drivers like Curl working together to try and find some momentum. Wilkie as well. Bit of a calm start in the first 2 minutes here. Comparative to what we've seen to start the racing action, this is turned into a much calmer affair. It almost feels like big picture racing, where you're thinking about the positioning for your heat points, but also remember this does count up to 50 total heat points you can get for, or rather standing points you can get for the championship. Second is 45, 44 for third, 43 for fourth, and so forth, essentially after that. So it is critical if you're in a close battle to at least think about, am I going to be able to get these spots? There's a spot center right there. Mark Steele, fastest lap last time by, made a pass up. Mark Steele You can guess he's right with Steel entry, trying to get the signals to go, get some assistance for the RRDs. Top two saying, I'd like to be friendly with each other, please, and thank you. They'll stay steady for the time being without any major shuffles in the order. Tutwiler, again, moving up to the ranks here. No, he's happy with the Steel Motorsports camp here today, looking to try and be fast here at Quaker City. Last round, had to hold off both Lida and Mole, remember, in G&J. Part of some intense racing back in that action. We've also been busy with some of the club racing, of course. Just actually started, I believe it's sophomore year in high school. Still pretty young, one of the younger drivers in this class, actually, when you think about it for the seniors. Looking to move up to the ladder while also, of course, making sure to do well in class. Because that's also important, too, for the future. Right now, the entire train has stayed steady. Carson Benjamin last time by took the fastest lap of the race, but that was at the caboose of what is a 7-car breakaway, kart breakaway by 1.6 seconds. Steele is the one to watch because he made the pass last time by, but seems to be doing well now with Wilkie having to give an assist. Your other drivers to keep an eye on outside of this lead group real quick. I'm going to mention Benjamin is up 7. That's actually your biggest mover in this lead group, but +5 as well for Gavin Isaacs, +3 for Landon Ashcraft and a couple others as well in the race. There's the look right now as Wilkie gets the fast lap assisting. May have had some issues with 9:53 this lap because Pat Jean-Men has fallen down the order. That's one of the clean Clay O'Brien race team machines that has just fallen down the pylon with less than 2 minutes to go on the clock. Chase Adams is the other driver that's had issues in this race down the order. Everyone else has been able to stay pretty steady with no issues early in the day, weekend. Here comes that pack we were mentioning. Mark Steele is now on the doorstep. He's right behind Wheeler after the work put up by Wilkie to get him right there. They're right on the rear end. Some drivers kicking up some smoke and some grass in the 20s. But right now, Wheeler has he's been staying glued to this bumper. How long does that last now that Steele is in the mix? See the thoughts going to the mind of Steele, watching along in front, and there's a drop tire. Here we go, Tutwiler off the track. They'll rumble their way up to 7. Some of the drivers at the back of the order fight, but the leaders still see some shuffling as a result of the drop tire from Tutwiler. That will change the complexion of things. A part of that lead group with Wheeler having to make a move to the right side of the track as a result of that left side going off for Sam. 2 laps to go this upcoming time by. Still keep an eye on the air group as they work themselves around the back part of the field. But the leaders are getting intensified up at the front. Remember Steele in that conversation. Wilkie's in that conversation. Henry Wheeler just led the last lap at the line. Steele is in second. Tutwiler fell to 4th as a result of that off-track sequence. And now how does Steele handle Wheeler? We've seen them work together in the past. Is this going to work out well for Wheeler this time? No look with the 2 lap to go mark. Still staying in line. Everyone trying to think, where's the best place to go this time? Pass attempts in 12 have been up and down. Sends in 7 have been active, but you have to clear by 8 or 9 to get it really done. Side-by-sides up out of 15 have been pretty wild. No one's willing to take a risk yet. Could be risky by turn 1. A little bit of time loss for Steele. May have had contact from Wilkie. Steele's got the run back, though. Will he take it into 1? White flag is out, final time around. No one taking a set. Whitmire off screen, part of a shuffle. Beckham Lewis got pushed down the order with some incidents. Landon Ashcraft and a couple others also. But the leaders are the main focus. Pass attempt section number 1. Nobody steps out. Steele elects to stay behind. Wheeler still holding on. Doesn't even need to take a look behind yet. Rumbling their way through 11. Narrow push from Steele, who's got a push from Wilkie. 12 and 13. No one getting out from the dance move of staying lockstep in the conga line. Will anyone try something for the final corner for the win? They'll all try and scatter. Some defensive maneuvers. Steele goes to the bumper of Wheeler instead. Wheeler holds the back for the win. Wheeler, Steele, Tutwiler rips away 3rd. Wilkie in 4th. 5th sees Curl over Mole and Benjamin. Eckhoff, along with Maui and the Master, get the top 10. A lot of +5s and +4s, a +7 for Lucy and Laser. Down in 18th position for that machine. But right now, this is the look at the order. The difference at the line ends up being more than 1/10 of a second, where Wheeler ends up being 2nd or 1st just about every single lap. Dominant effort. And as you look at the rest of the order, some notables. Clay O'Brien, who was going to qualify at one point, down to 15th. Addison Ionel drove up to 12th, up to +3. You also had Beckham Lewis. We talked about some of the shuffles at the end of the race, getting pushed down the order. Ended up losing a lot of time on the second to last lap. Landon Ashcraft, you could also say the very least in that. 33 took the racetrack. Only 1 officially counted as a DNF, though. That was the 953 Gene Men, who went it off the circuit. 3 heat races now complete as a result, as that was a look at your order for the Briggs Masters. We do have an update on the order for the Briggs Masters after a review, though. Levi Wilbur got a 3-second blocking penalty. AJ Roderick got a 5-second avoidable contact penalty. So Ethan Bocchino picked up the win after review for heat number 1. Bocchino was one of those battling in the second pack, remember, who fell nearly into the clutches of Christopher Ashcraft. So it's Bocchino who gets the edge in that one. That's all to say, the minis are due up next on the racetrack. Keeping an eye on how things go. They had to update things because there was a review, the qualifying session, because at least one driver, remember, got disqualification due to a post-race disqualification. That was when Iliku lost a part on the kart, the side pod specifically. Obviously led to a mechanical flag. Obviously, you can't finish with that. That's why they're going to start at the back of the field of whoever starts here in the class. They'll do themselves onto the racetrack in the next minute, by the way. Gotta know, a part of those who reached out here today, for Theo Stevens, that is indeed, for your Mini, the first pole position in Apex competition. The 174, the Iron Station, North Carolina driver is ready to leave the field as a privateer in the comp cart. Has a kinetic racing engine on board. Looking to gain experience and figure things out per the family. And looking to figure things out already, it seems, doing well on the speed here to start. Be one of the first drivers to hit the racetrack in a minute. Part of this qualifying session's completion moments ago. Now into the racing session, obviously. But he's got a few drivers that will have some good speed right behind. It's pretty close, remember, amongst the top three, within about a tenth and a half or so. Bo Laser, Logan Pollock, going to be in that order in the top three in a moment. Part of the errors in the Class 2, you'll see Ruben Greer, Aiden Harbaugh. Remember, the first lap after that went off the track down the straightaway. It's very frustrated, we see with the body language. It didn't matter. It was still top 5 speed for the 108. Skolbach, Panico, Goddard, Leash, McNeely, Yuns, and that were all the drivers took times outside of the 123. Here we go. They'll all hit the track. Kevin Leash, amongst those. Let's keep an eye and find out how things go here today. Of course, as these drivers keep busy in their respective schedules here, it's the balance of trying to make sure keep up on the regional side, but also make sure to keep your obligations up for if you're on the local side. Some of the drivers will make the appearances in some of the races. Remember, the goal is to make at least 2 to get your ticket to the Apex Nationals we touched upon earlier. It looks like your minis are just about all set to go here for racing action. We are just about set to fly around the track. Who will get the edge today? Let's find out. Third-year racer Stevens will look to try and maintain control of this pack as they're now doubled up. Here we go. The entire field is just about set to go racing here today. Happy to have you with us for today's coverage as we continue on the racing. The seniors are ready, or rather, the minis are ready. Seniors just finished. The minis are ready for their turn. We're off and away. And already some off tracks. That might have been Greer. All of this as well. Immediately, Laser goes to the front. Stevens gets shuffled to a battle for third. Harbaugh on the power. Can't confirm that was Greer that went off the track to the back of the field. Will have to claw their way through the whole crowd. Right now, the top 4 or 5 carts single file to start. All through 11, they'll rumble single file off on the lap. You can see the top 2 electing to just work together. Pollock, we mentioned him. Gonna have to think big picture for the title fight here amongst the minis here. Try and pick up as much points as possible with no Hemphill here and taking the full drop out of 0. Max points count will be 768. So right now, Pollock needs to basically get in your max points day, possibly, on the board for the championship. You do the math, because right now, Pollock needs to get at least a points day that will get an extra 14 points for the end of the day today. Easier said than done, potentially, for the math. Let's put it that way. Looks comfortable for Hip Hill. Second battling, Pollock. Able to hold back Stevens. Remy Boss is a part of this field here in this class to answer the questions. Remember, we talked about this with the micros, and we are on the minis for those just jumping on here. Remy has elected, it looks like, to now take part in this class instead. That's the 183 machine on your timing and scoring today. So looks like Remy electing to take part here was originally not on that entry list in the provisional totals coming into the weekend, but has now appeared on the racetrack. Now that would explain a potential discrepancy on time, because Evan Leash, you see, is not on the track, but heard maybe at the club scene. So there's a chance that the times for Leash were instead by Boss. See how that now plays out regardless. Stevens holding on to third, but look at Skolbach. Able to try and battle out for the fourth position. Cowan trying to figure out a way to get up to the lead group in one of the Rocket Tech entries. It is a driver that normally runs these club races here, making the regional appearance today. He's close up 4 or 5 tenths to get up to where Laser, Pollock, and Stevens are all lockstep together. Halfway through the clock. A little bit of shuffling up at the front. Looks like Laser loses the lead. It is to Pollock. Logan Pollock now up to the front. Now, with Stevens up to second again. See what Stevens does with a lot of close up in the comp cart. Right to the rear end. Stevens electing not to go for the pass yet. But here comes the air pack right into the bumper of Laser. That's Panico that's actually been a part of those on the charge for a moment. And right to the rear end with Harbaugh giving a shove. That sees a massive amount of momentum. As a result of all that pushing and shoving seen there. .100 Kart. Kart Republic per the entry list. It's now into the conversation. Another one of those that runs these races a bit over at Newcastle on the club scene, bit at G&J. A lot of the tracks that are on the schedule. It's also taking part of the series because why not? Now down to the 5th position with Harbaugh making the pass. A few more laps before we go. 2 laps to go. Right now, the signals are on. That was from Stevens, wanting to get something going, possibly. The assistance comes from Harbaugh. Remember, though, Harbaugh wants all the spots. There it is, ascent for third. Able to make the cut up the inside that time. Eight amongst those going for the power right now. One of those that has picked up some wins in different league races in the indoor karting scene. Started racing for the socials when they were 4 feet tall. Still pretty young, obviously. But is doing well, a part of this group. Look at the battle up front. Up to the front goes the 108, and everyone goes off the track. Laser and everyone else in the shuffle. Panico jumps up to second. And that entire field gets decimated with Pollock down the order. And just like that, so many contenders get pushed down the running order. The second pack joins with many drivers near spin around for Ilek, able to hold on at the rear of the group. 2 laps to go. Absolute calamity popping up once again early on in this one. Now the question is going to be, I think, not just how things are going to handle for the top 5 here, with drivers like Skolbach down here making some moves and drivers like Pollock pushed down into this conversation, already getting a little bit antsy there with the contact. Look how much things have changed. Lead for Harbaugh is up by more than a second. There goes some sense now featuring Skolbach. Now to the inside goes the 120 machine trying to make some moves. That's Ruben Greer. That's been having to claw their way on the recovery. Bo Laser down here too. Laser started this lap down to the 10th position after all as a result of the incident. See a little bit of 3 wide. Laser gets on through. Greer hasn't been able to get through all of this cleanly, or quickly is the rather word. And with a lap and a third to go, top 3 is starting to try and compress. Well, this entire group continues to change around positions back and forth. A little bit of dirt kicked up by McNeely. Here's a look up at the front. Harbaugh had a lot of the frustration during the qualifying off the track. Now is up at the front on the final time around. Right now, Stevens in second. Panico down in the 3rd spot. Pollock in 4th. Drivers like Boss, now part of the next pack. Pollock able to get away from the others as a part of their scrappiness because of a 2-second quicker lap time. Interesting race in the office so far here in this one. Right now, Harbaugh coming on through to the final sector. The drive, 4 positions picked up. Same for the 100. Plus 6 for Remy Boss. Moving to the minis here today. They've all worked out in interesting ways. But it's Harbaugh come out of the final corner through 15 to pick up the Briggs Mini victory in heat number 1. Stevens, Panico, Pollock in the top 4. Next pack. Will Boss get it? Some 3 wide. Boss did get it. Greer, Skolbach, some spins featuring Alec right behind Bo Laser. Goddard, McNeely. Then you have Jones down the order. It's the last kart, part of the 12 here in this one. So the Briggs Minis putting together some interesting races. And now they'll all try and find a way, just simply, in the final race of the Heat 1 rotation, to put on some good battling. Take a quick break. We're back in just a moment. You're watching Kart Chaser.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Motorsports.
Cut. You all right, man? You sound way off.
What?
I don't know. You sound like you're asleep still. Is the age finally getting to you? You're only how old? 42?
Dude, I'm 27. I'm not even 3 years older than you.
Well, that's pretty old. Well, that's 3 years away from Masters, dude. You need a little pick-me-up. Try a Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Do you walk around with these in your pockets?
I actually do. Always two, one for me and clearly one for you.
Whatever. Not that old, dude.
Did it help though?
Yeah.
Pericazo. And you are that old.
Here we go. The karts are now on the racetrack for the juniors, as this is your final race in the Heat 1 rotation. Here we go back to the top of the rotation for Heat number 2. I'm Justin Prince with you here today on Kart Chaser for those just tuning in. As we continue on with the action, Hayden Lawson, remember, set the pole time earlier today. We'll look to try and keep that up today. Looking at some of the numbers from the session, Jonathan Bohr ended up getting a cutting course with advantage penalty, was the only penalty from qualifying. Daniel Dragunov, we mentioned, a part of those on the chassis side of things that is on a happy kart here today. Looking to become a happy driver. They can get the edge here in this one from the second position. Also in the order, you have Jeff Bryce, Gavin Dyer, Tegan Snyder, and JJ O'Neill in the top 6. Evan Frey, followed by Will Kritz. You also throw in William Richard down in 9th, Christopher Yutzi, and AJ Stoner, the top 11. Giovanni Blackerby will be down in 12th. Travis Van Horn, Jacob Scheibel. You also have Cooper Moll at 15th, Rylan Gordon in 16th, Lincoln DeCoster, followed by Ben Beck, Henrik McKay, Jensen Janda. Bohr pushed down to 21st with penalty. Jordan Lapham down to 22nd. Charlie Marin, Henry Maskell, Gage Clevenger, and Preston Fisher were the drivers who took times today. We're all set to go. Final Heat 1 of the morning. And away we go. Racing is on as everyone makes their way through 1, 2x2 for the battle for third to start. Looks like they're able to clear, and you see the happy logos on the 851, taking the orange on the kart this weekend. Today, that machine looks to try and get some power put in, as you see some of the scattering in the back of the pack. A couple of the drivers, such as Clevenger, getting held back there. Just got word of an update after another review. We mentioned the Briggs Masters penalties that were reviewed. They put in a pending under protest that has been overturned. A.J. Roderick now officially gets the win again in Heat 1 for the Briggs Masters. That officially announced as of 11:01, 1 minute ago. Roderick getting the top step in Heat 1 after final review. That being said, the drivers are finishing up the first lap in the juniors meanwhile. Up at the front, it's Lawson, Price, Dragunov, Snyder, Dyer to start things off. Not too edgy in the battles per se at the moment, but the field getting along. Keep in mind, compared to this morning, the temperature has already gone up by 11 degrees. It's expected as high as 79 degrees Fahrenheit today with a low of 61. Dragunov is under attack by everybody, sending it deep into 7. Clears. About to say, you see a fair amount of sunshine. It's now become broken clouds in the area for some of the weather systems here at Quaker City. And so it becomes the question, as drivers, are you able to make the adjustments, or better yet, your team bosses, are you able to keep up with what could be an ever heating up racetrack today here on Kart Chaser? A little bit of edginess back there. Drivers like O'Neill and company. But the leaders stay stagnant-ish. Top 2 stay stable. Snyder takes away third over Dragunov. And a wheel-to-wheel contact. Now it's Yutzi getting a bit aggressive. Some of your top drivers in the point standings, remember, didn't have the greatest of qualifying runs. And they're still trying to battle their way out from the back end of the top 10. Under 4 minutes to work with here in the action. You see the entire train work its way to the far side of the racetrack. Obviously, as this goes about here over the course of the weekend, it's going to be critical to make sure, keep up to the speed here, just keeping an eye on how these drivers handle a fairly smooth racetrack in terms of its surface. You can see just how much drivers like Dragunov, though, are trying to assist to make sure that second pack does something. J.J. O'Neill is up to the 5th position. There's a look at where they've been really fighting. Drivers like Dyer, like Yutzi, like Richard, like Stoner. Chavo's also driven up to the 11th spot. Evan Frey's got the fastest lap of the race after losing 3 spots to start the race. Right now, the main thing for these drivers to get up there, remember, it takes a lot of effort to close the packs. They might need the top 2 to battle a bit. See, they are picking up a good bit of draft because Price lost some momentum to the middle sector. Is that going to be helpful for them with this package? This track going to run a lot more differently with those in the later of the day sessions. Right now, you see the sets are on for the race lead. Here we go. It's Price taking it away. 2 minutes on the clock. Price gets the advantage up at the front, and Jet Price will look to try and make sure nothing else pulls in. Price, been a strong driver this year. Mainly ran club race at Trackhouse, 30+ entries in races though. Midwest competition, hasn't had the best of luck though, has usually finished down in the teens most of the season. But today has really kept himself out of trouble to start, and it's paid off so far. Should be coming up to, I believe this will be 3 to go when we get to the line, by the way. Overall, the biggest movers are only +3 outside of one. There is Hendrick McKay's 871. Gone up +6, down in the teens though in 13th, last scoring loop. All of them stay in line, 44 seconds on the clock. See the hand signals starting to come out here. Price tries to make sure no one goes for the set behind. Hayden Lawson right up there in the mix, ready to see if there's a pass attempt available. Dragunov off note, slipping down to the 5th position over the course of this run. Had the qualifying speed we talked about. However, the big thing is, UT Stoner, Richard, all been able to pick up a bit of spots here. They're able to get themselves going in that second pack. Look at the leaders though. Price getting crossed up by Lawson. 2 to go. Lawson goes for the race lead. Snyder and O'Neill not able to capitalize, but a change up at the front after an offensive line by Price. Price now trying to get alongside Snyder, went on the curbing. And here comes everybody else. 3 wide in the battle for 4th. Dropping tires in the mix of that. Getting a little bit dicey with drivers like Stoner. getting into the conversation at the right time for one of the top drivers in the points. Lap and a third to go. To the inside. Price. Send. Complete. Gets it. Second changes as well. O'Neill's up there now. Look at the drive from the outside. Stoner again. Stoner trying the outside. Gets back in line again. Now gets the attack put on him. Battle for fourth heats up. Bryce O'Neill lost in the top three on the final time around. Stoner getting pushed down the order all the way outside the top five as a result of the side-by-sides. But O'Neill hasn't led a lap today yet. One signal in the rear end, now looking for the setup. Doesn't have assistance behind. Dragonov's going for fourth, mind you, behind on Snyder. See Stoner drive back to fifth. There was no scent for the race leaders yet. More drop tires amongst them. See up at the front though. This for the win. Will O'Neill get the chance to get a run alongside? Price holds on to 14. He'll try to set up something on momentum. Defensive maneuvers are running for Price. He tries middle. He goes low. O'Neill trying to set up a run. Can't get there. Price holds them back. Jeff Price gets the win. Neil Lawson, Dragunov, and Stoner inside the top five. Snyder, Yutzi, Richard, Dyer, Scheibel. Amongst those inside your top 10, the final heat one of this part of the rotation, with heat twos on the docket in minutes time. Looking at the order once again, the difference for the race win ends up being by more than a tenth of a second. J.J. O'Neill had set the fastest lap of the weekend so far during that race, but in the end it doesn't end up leading to the victory. A lot of the drivers that are outside this top 10 going to be wondering where to go to the drawing board, like Will Kritz, like Evan Frey, who dropped 5. Van Horn didn't do much in the moving around. Drivers like Beck and McKay gained a few spots. McKay dropped down 3 spots at the end of the race. Henry Maskell went up 4 spots to be the last of the top 20. Then you had Jonathan Bohr. We mentioned him pushed down the order with the steel entry 21st. Clevenger was the last kart overall in the race. That in mind, Heat 1s are complete. Heat 2 racing coming up where we do it again with the Masters Micro Senior, Mini, and Junior in succession. They're set to hit the racetrack in 12 minutes time. You're on Kart Chaser. Karts are now hitting the racetrack once again as we're all set to go for heat number 2 action here on Kart Chaser. All set to go. More coverage of Apex Midwest racing action. I'm Justin Prince, now joined in the booth alongside by Hunter Bolton. Hunter, how have you been enjoying the racing action so far from your perspective?
It's been pretty good so far today. We saw a lot of good action in this Briggs Masters category, especially by Levi Wilbur. We saw him do the 2-for-1 pass into that hairpin we just went by. He did that 2 times on Bocono and Roderick. And it was pretty much 2-3 laps in between each other. And he was able to get in there and got super late on the brakes and was able to hold on to it.
It's going to provide an interesting backdrop in turn for this one. Remember, AJ Roderick getting the win in the last race. There was a penalty review and then a overturn for AJ Roderick's penalty. Bocono, you mentioned one of those fast the air pack, but Levi Wilbur picked up a blocking penalty in the last race. We'll find out how this one now goes today. Race number 2, remember, looks like this. Ethan Bocono, you have AJ Roderick, J. Brian Williams, Levi Wilbur, Ryan Curtin, Christopher Ashcraft inside the top 6. Connell, Kane, Golan, Elliott, Bocono, and Machiko are the 11 who are ready to go. Back to 7 minutes plus 2 laps up on the board yet again. They'll make their way through as they rumble their way to the opening corner.
So far, it's been a pretty clean start for the front group. Basically, everybody's getting through clean as we see a little bit of sliding through there. Levi Wilbur already trying to make a move on AJ Roderick, though.
Remember, this group actually put together some phenomenal battling. Bit of an off track there for Elliott Bocono, but the leaders themselves, as you can see, do not like to wait today in the Briggs Masters at least. It's not like the air classes where there's been a bit more patience. It's been kind of a feeling of if Gap Kart fill in the spot.
And it seems to be the same person trying to start it all. It's always Levi Wilbur, but he's going to try to go to the outside there. AJ Roderick's going to pick his teammate, get by Wilbur once again.
Wilbur able to get back in the line, but it goes towards the tail of said line as a result there. Obviously, one of the main trends has been, I'm not sure if you noticed as well, a lot of passes in 7 that have led to a potential overlap for 8, 9, and 10. A few up through 12, sometimes 14, maybe turn 1. Where else would you think there's opportunities outside of those areas for some of these drivers that we haven't really seen capitalized on yet?
For me, this track can race pretty good both ways. This way, this is my first time I've seen this track race this way in person, and it hasn't been too horrible passing zones. I can see turn 3 and 4 after you go through 2. If you stay down low, there's a chance to get in there. And then 14 is hit and miss as well, but main one I've been seeing all day is 7.
That's where I've seen 2, and it's been one of those areas where in a couple cases people have been bowled more so in the Masters than any other class today so far. After that's one of the longer straightaways seen at this facility. This time not as active on the passing, never mind, how about that? Guess what? How about a 2-for-1 special yet again? Side by side for the race lead, no draft help. There goes Bocono getting some assistance as Wilbur shuffles into the side by side for second. Wilbur not backing off, will end up cutting his way to P2.
And he threw a little bit of block there after he hit the curb. He knew AJ was going to have a better exit than him. He knew he had to get down low, try to block AJ from getting right back by him, because he wants to get to the point of the lead, and this is going to be his chance right here. Going down into 7, he's already going out for the move. He's going to send it down into turn 7. We've seen him get super late on the brakes. I don't think there's anything Bocono can do right here.
You see that right now back in the line for Bocono as he'll go in and try and sort this out again. Of course, remember, long run, it ended up being a couple car breakaway towards the end with Roderick and Wilbur. Obviously, this one could get a little bit interesting in the difference because it's a much hotter track temperature compared to later if you're some of these team members, how do you plan for the much hotter track where it was in the 60s to start the day, and now in the mid to high 70s, these drivers are still trying to make these passes?
I don't think they've really made too much changes. It's pretty much just been tire pressures. The track hasn't changed that much, especially since yesterday. Yesterday, our temperatures are averaging the same high throughout the weekend. So most of these drivers got their cars set up yesterday, and they're just going to slowly go down on the tire pressures. I feel like this morning they were a little bit higher, probably around that 14 to 15 range, and now they're probably at 12 to 11, depending on who you are.
Indeed, and then right now, here we go for the race lead again. Wilbur had it for a moment, no longer, as Bughetto gets it. Ethan, again, up to the point. This entire group, 7 karts deep. This is the most we've seen in the Masters class so far, the Briggs side at least, in terms of a lead grouping, it feels like, and they are all staying active bumper to bumper here.
You would be correct. I think that most of the races, just the 3 of Volcano, Wilbur, and Roderick, and then Roderick and Wilbur kind of pulled away, and then at the end, it was 4 go-karts in the lead pack. Now, we got 7 of them, and you have to give a shout-out to Ryan Curtin. After the incident with him and Ashcraft in Heat 1, he's found his way back up in the front group as we have another pass for the lead. Not quite there.
Didn't have the angle, it felt like, with the squeeze back by Wilbur on the exit. And Wilbur has a little bit of a cushion again to work with. Roderick, though, working as much as he can with the 427. And obviously the big thing for some of these drivers is going to be teamwork once again coming into play. We've seen that now set this up for the race lead again. 427 up to the front. Ethan is leading, but here's a send back by Wilbur.
Didn't take much to get a move done right there by Wilbur. And AJ's got to be careful. He was trying to open up, and then Ryan Curtin was coming right to his back bumper. He had to shut that door real fast, or Ryan Curtin could have got up the inside of AJ Roderick going through turn number 11. And you see him, Volcano, he's still trying to find a way around Wilbur. He's been taking curbs, and it's just upsetting the cart. But luckily, he's got AJ right behind him, and AJ's just continuing to push him forward.
Coming up to what's going to be 3 laps to go here, 40 seconds or so on the clock. Turn 1 has had a couple moves already. No one daring that. That's this time the way Wilbur's attacked that. What do you feel Wilbur's thinking here in the midst of this? Because we know he's been aggressive here to hold on and let him make the passes up here. Obviously, this entire field has not stayed the most comfortable when he's been up at the front. He's been busy, mind you, in a variety of different races in the region. He's under attack again.
I mean, Wilbur's in a tough spot right now. He's got 2 teammates that aren't going to work with him. They're going to always pick them over Wilbur, even if it doesn't help the guy that's sitting in 3rd right now. If it doesn't help AJ, in the end, AJ's still going to pick Volcano because he's under AJ's tent and he has the pace to be up front. It's just they have to try to find a way to get rid of Wilbur, and they can't figure it out right now. As there goes AJ Roderick up the inside in 14. It will get that one done. Well, take that back. They're going side by side down the straightaway. Wilbur's going to take it right back again.
Wilbur back up to 2nd, coming up towards 2 laps to go. Still 7 deep. Wilbur again, deep into 1, makes it stick. But look at that. It's Brian Williams making the first poke, trying to rip away the status quo of the top 3. Still sets up a side-by-side, and Williams gets pushed back instead by Karting.
Just a little bit side-by-side action. That's exactly what happened to Curtin in Heat 1. That is exactly where he went off, but his off was just that little bit worse. And you saw Ethan looking for a move, just wasn't quite there, as we have the 431 of Connell out of this race early.
Connell now stopped to the side of the road. Lap and a half to go. Last time led, but Wilbur leads right now. Here comes the close up to the rear end of the 406. You can kind of sense where this may be going for the send opportunity. Two drivers that have worked well all race, working, pushing together. Roderick, the points leader, having an opportunity to push. Here we go to the white flag. They go right to the back end of Wilbur. Will they go for it into 1 or wait until 7? They go for it in 1 on the final time around. First attempt doesn't work.
Yeah, Wilbur's just able to carry that speed through the outside of turn 1. That's it. We have a move up the inside on AJ Roderick with Ryan Curtin. Side by side. Ryan Curtin's going to have to give it right back to AJ Roderick, and he's going to lose one himself now to Ashcraft.
Defensive for Wilbur. He knows the opportunities are there, but the gap isn't there. Right now, Buchanan needs to find a way to get there. Gets to the right side. Now pokes around. Ethan is looking left, right, center. Now goes the inside through 8 contact. Sets it up for Roderick to take it. 3 wide squeeze. Ashcraft onto the grass. 2x2 for second as Wilbur runs away.
This just came into Wilbur's race on the final lap. As they go side by side in the back still, AJ Roderick able to get second, and Bokuno able to stay in third, but he's getting pressure from Ryan Curtin right now.
Right now, everybody trying to fight for heat points. This is going to get interesting where they shuffle for tomorrow. But Levi Wilbur able to hold them back, gets the advantage. Look at the last corner charge for Roderick. Curtin gets to third. Ethan shuffled down to fourth. Ashcraft in the top 5. And Elliott Bochetto in the Roderick machine up to 6th. How about that, Hunter?
That was a great race, if I have to say myself. It was probably one of the best races we've seen all day so far. I even put it better than the 206 senior race you had to do earlier on your own, Justin. That was just action-packed the whole entire race. Wilbur just sending it in on the 2 Roderick Racing developments the whole race, and he was able to come out on top once again this race. We just have to wait till the post-race tech happens and see if there's another penalty for him with blocking.
That's going to be a major thing to keep an eye on, especially after what happened last time. And now this entire group for the next one, getting themselves all prepared. Of course, the micros, when they raced earlier on, had a little bit more different flair of racing, because in terms of that battle, Nelson ran away from the pack by a weekend high so far of 4.8 seconds. The 230 is looking quick this weekend.
Yeah, Nelson has been looking incredible so far this weekend. He has stellar early pace on in this race, which is just how he's able to pull away so early. And we saw the same thing in qualifying, like the opening 2 laps. He was 8/10 faster than anybody else on track, and that was just able to open up his gap early, and then he's able to carry the speed throughout the whole race compared to everybody else.
It's going to be very interesting how things go, especially in that battle for second. Don't forget, though, because some of the drivers local to the track here, Hunter, are in the conversation, too, for those podium spots for the heat. They have Burlesman that took away the 3rd spot from drivers like Hamill that's looked good. Ava's been another one of the Roderick Racing Development karts this weekend. Miles Hale's been competitive. Clyde in the 293's also been quick. Clyde Kleeman. And that's all part of what's been a very feisty pack that we're expecting to stay feisty in about a minute or two's time and they get rolling. And don't forget, next weekend, it's going to be very busy, isn't it, Hunter? How about 4 race events on the weekend?
Yeah, there's 4 race weekends on the event. Myself, I'll be out in Cali at the K1 circuit for the Champions of the Future event. Where are you going to be at, Justin?
Going to be one of those actually with the Champions of the Future as well over the course of the weekend at K1 circuit. But of course, Pro-Am Karting Championship at MCC Cincinnati. Also that weekend, Texas Sprint Racing Series. They're at Crescent actually for their racing action. And don't forget, one of the days, the Indy Karting Challenge, which features a lot of these drivers that we've seen here today so far. That'll be on the Saturday. So a lot of competitive racing nationwide. You can catch here on Kart Chaser You should subscribe to KC Premium for $9.99 a month today. Be able to join and watch the action live across the nation. Looks like those drivers are all set to go in our next group, by the way, when it comes to your micros. And remember, things look steady after the race when it came to the penalty side of the bulletins, but the order for this group, Nelson and Hamill be on the front row, Hale and Burlesman, Cleveland and Toby Blue. Then Wyatt Nelson's down at 7th with Rhett Blue in 8th. Harrison Fitcher inside the top 9. And we talked about this earlier, Remy Boss moving over to the minis instead of the micros. That, and with James Fox not on the racetrack for this class here, that championship essentially secured up for Fox with the drop potentially here, Hunter.
Yeah, it could be that way, but Kuiper Nelson has had a great performance so far this weekend, and we saw him have a really great performance as well at G&J where he's able to get second. So it's going to go down to the drop, I feel like, here.
That might be the actual factor, absolutely, you mentioned there, because he had a good points haul of 410 coming in now, because with some of the live data, that's where his total is. If he can make a max points haul, he could potentially rip it away or get close to it at least. It's going to be close because of the 0 he's got for the opening round since he was not there. So Nelson may be the main disruptor to the status quo of the top 2. Keep in mind, that is the big thing about that is it was second places for Nelson in round 2 to Fox's all first places at G&J.
That is correct. James had first in every single session when we were over at G&J. But if Kuiper can sweep the weekend here, it's going to be a very tight battle when it comes down to the drop.
We'll find out just by the end of the weekend how close it really is, because those are starting to factor for those watching along with your point statuses, the alpha timing systems. Those are now starting to be tracked for drop weeks. We're just about ready to go for your micros to go to battle for 7 minutes plus 2 laps of racing action. Track is starting to take a bit of rubber, as you can see in some parts of the circuit. Some of the tire marks built around it. But the micros, ready to see how they fire off. They go down the hillside up to 15. Again, heat number 2 action for Briggs Micro. Part of our morning slate of races as we're about to cross into the past noon area. They'll run to the tram lines. Up towards those blue cones for the start zone. Off and away we go. Kuiper Nelson clears on by to start. We're off and away with a little bit of jumpy jump. Side by side for second, side by side for about 5th. Starting to get a little bit edgy to start, but it's Hale who's able to take over second.
Yeah, Hales was able to take over second over Ava Hamill. Clyde Kleeman up into the 4 spot as well. And we see no move going down in turn 7 early into this race. Lopez sideways under braking for the driver in 5th place right now. But the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are starting to break away, but they need to break away fast, and they need to put their heads down because Kuiper Nelson already has a major gap early in this race, just like he did in Heat 1.
And obviously has this dialed up here on the racetrack here when it comes to Nelson. It's difficult to keep up when you have the pace as you do here, but Nelson in that machine has a lot of speed, has raced a lot. If you look at some of the head-to-head against Cleveland in particular, 47 times have shared the racetrack, 35-60 advantage in recent years per the metric. But of note, the blue shuffled down the order, 205 went to last. Side by side for second, sees Hamill retake that position.
Yeah, we saw Miles Hale just get a little wide on the entry and scrub his tires going into turn 1, and that was the perfect opening for Hamill to get back under him, but Miles isn't going to wait much longer. He's going to go down to the inside, going into turn 7. He's clear for the move. Clyde was looking to go with him, but he thought better of it.
Just got a bulletin from race control after review for the junior race that just finished, Hunter. More blocking penalties for both Jeff Price and Daniel Dragonoff. See J.J. O'Neill officially up at the top over Hayden Lawson. Stoner gets to 3rd, a part of that shuffle as a result of 3-second time penalties that changed the top 5 complexion. Dragonoff fell to 12th.
That's a major drop for Dragonoff, going from around 6 all the way down to 12. But that's a good points haul now for your points leader coming in this weekend of AJ Stoner. We saw AJ not have the greatest qualifying, but with the penalties, he's up to 3rd now in heat number 1. That's a good points haul to start off your weekend.
It is, but hey, there's still lots of racing to go. Remember the max out of these 50 we talked about for those points tallies. But with 4 minutes to go on the clock here, seconds kept up pretty busy here. Less karts that were battling than earlier today in Heat 1. But Hamill's been keeping up the pressure. Cleveland's been keeping the pressure up. Side by side again, up towards 7 and 8. Or 8 and 9 onward, I should say. But it feels like this group, all pretty evenly kiltered on speed. Any one of these 3 can get the 2nd spot, it feels like.
I would have to agree with you right there, Justin, but for me right now, it just looks like Miles Hale is just carrying a little bit too much speed on entry, or maybe it could just be a little bit too low tire pressures right now, because it just seems on entry, he gets in, and then out on the exit, the car just wants to slide as we have a move for 3rd. Clyde Kleeman up the inside. He's clear on Hamill, but they're going to climb together on the exit. Hamill up over the back of Kleeman. They're both out of this race early now. Miles Hale has 2nd all to himself.
And the tow truck effect comes into play in the battle for 2nd. So now Burlesman amongst those in the conversation for that. Those are the 5-second back karts that are now in that position for the 3rd spot, should say. Hale now on their lonesome by a wide margin. And now pressure is on not to make a mistake, all while Nelson, Kuiper Nelson specifically, keeps the speed up at the point.
Miles Hale has a huge gap to close down. Last time by, it was 1.988 seconds. So realistically, 2-second gap to close down. And Kuiper Nelson was a half a second faster last time by than Miles Hale. But he's got 2nd all to himself now. Now the race is on for 3rd, and I think we have about 5 karts in that back group for 3rd now. So it's going to be a great race for 3rd.
I think so as well. You see 1, 2, 3, at least near 4 seconds now the distance to Burlesman. You also have Wyatt Nelson in this mix. Then you have the Blues. You have Rhett and Toby that have now flipped spots in their green and red machines, respectively. Don't forget, Jude Boss is the one in the 233. He's also in this mix. Bit of a step up compared to the last race. But Burlesman, remember, is one of those in the conversation as high as 2nd in the last one. This one, bit of a step back possibly with 221, but to be in this position too is still going to put them in a really good spot for the heat points.
Yeah, he's still going to get really good points haul out of this heat race, especially if he can hold on for 3rd for right now. But it looks like Remy Boss was looking for a move, or sorry, Jude Boss was looking for a move on Toby Blue. Just wasn't quite able to make that move done, but the race is still on for both 3rd and 5th now, or 3rd and 6th now. Sorry, excuse me about that one. As we have 5 karts kind of spaced out in this group. It's hard to tell who's going to come out with it, but you see Barrelsman able to pull away going down into the final corner, and then Nelson able to close it right back up coming through the final corner.
3 laps to go, coming to 2 laps to go. Definitely seen the big step up. A couple karts to keep up. However, the big thing in this respective pack right now, as they get all worked together here, is will anybody get a run here? You can see some of the battling behind. Looked like Toby Blue got attacked for a moment for the battle for 6th position. They stay tucked in together here. Look at the way that's built up though for Nelson. Wyatt Nelson all over the back of Brosman. Good turn 11. Well, that's a chance here to rip away 3rd.
Just wasn't quite there, but you see Barrelsman taking quite a few looks over his shoulder right now. I've probably counted at least 5 looks over the shoulder in the last 2 corners. He's looking over his shoulder, making sure Nelson isn't able to make that move, and you see him taking 2 more looks down, going down the hill to the final corner, and you just see Nelson able to close up that gap in that final corner. He's not quite close enough to make a move into 1 or into 2. He's not going to be close enough to make a move in 3 and 4 either.
Yeah, it just seems like at times we've seen that 211 pick a lot of speed in the middle sector, the technical areas, but it seems as though Brosman's got such a big jump for where we get to the straightaways. See it a bit right here possibly. See the gap right now is about 4 kart lengths. Right about here you see how Brosman's starting to back up the corners with the 211 trying to charge up. Did chip away a kart length on the close.
Yeah, he's able to close up a little bit, not as much as he was able to do the previous lap, but you see a little bit of a defensive line there out of Barrelsman, and that closed Nelson right back up. That just a tiny bit of a defense line he took. It was only a kart length narrower than what he should have been, and Nelson was able to close up the 3 kart lengths he needed to, but it opened right back up as they came out of the turn number 14, and then it all closes right back down in turn 15.
You can see them on the final time around as they make their way on through. Right now, they all try and find a way to go. Here we go, side by side for 3rd. The send for Nelson. Wyatt Nelson rips away the spot. Now up to the front goes the 211. Oh, wow, Brosman tries to find a way. Signal saying go ahead as all this as well. Kuiper Nelson looking to cruise to victory up front.
Yeah, Kuiper Nelson is just cruising to victory. He just set purple last time by. Coming to the white flag, you set the fastest lap of the race is wild to me. But Kuiper is just dialed in, able to pull a gap early. He's going to take Heat 2 victory. Miles Hale able to hold on to P number 2.
Brosman right now it's still in that fight for 3rd. Gets the edge. We've seen the signal with Nelson. And Wyatt Nelson falls behind the other Wyatt. Drew Boss ahead of the 2 twin turbo racing machines. Those were brand new paint schemes, by the way, for this weekend per the team. Harrison Fitcher down in the 8th position. Hamill falls down to 9th. Clyde Kleeman down to 10th. So at the very least, it looks like one of the 2 cards originally was trying to go after some of the contact previous. We'll take a break. 3 more races to go before lunch break. You're watching Kart Chaser.
From the garage to the grid, Acceleration Kart Racing is your one-stop shop for karting. Engines, parts, safety gear, tools, and more from the brands you trust. Everything you need for race day starts at shopakr.com.
Welcome to the future of kart race preparation. Kart Sim Pro North America. Featuring laser-scanned North American kart circuits and precision-tuned kart physics developed using real telemetry, dyno and tyre data, Kart Sim Pro North America delivers the most advanced and realistic kart simulation experience available today. Whether you're training for race day, refining your lines, or shaving tenths off your personal best, Kart Sim Pro gives you pro-level insight without leaving your home. Trusted by world champions, coaches, and karting enthusiasts alike, this is where virtual practice translates into real-world performance. Experience the thrill, the challenge, and the edge. Kart Sim Pro North America. Use code CHASER20 to get 20% off today.
As you can see, our next grouping of drivers just waiting for the word to when they can go. Here's a look at the senior 2 grouper. You can see just how much drivers are all getting sorted. A massive group of drivers here ready to do battle in just a moment. Sam Totwar and Mark Steele among some of the top drivers with Henry Wheeler, Ryan Curl. You also have Will Wilkie. You have Owen Malley with Beckham Lewis looking to avoid any troubles. Ozil down in 8th, Adams and Eckhoff in the top 10. Hulls, Mull, DeMaster, Benjamin in the top 14. Einel, Robko, along with Clay O'Brien, Hickman, Weiss, Windmeyer. All part of your top 20. Ryder Nesbitt alongside Gene Men, you were saying, Hunter.
Adams, he fell all the way down to 30th after starting 9th in heat number 1. He's going to be looking forward to a better heat race this time by. Try to get some good heat points. That way he's not starting so far back in the pre-final. So he's got to work his way forward and try to secure at least a top 5 in this heat race, if not a top 10 at the worst, to try to get some heat points. That way he's not starting in the 20s in the pre-final. So he's got a lot of work to do. And we saw the good racecraft between Sam Tutwiler, Henry Wheeler, and Mark Steele in heat number 1. They were able to get a Steely Motorsports 1, 2, 3 in heat number 1. And you saw the great pace Wilkie had. Wilkie was the only Coyote able to stick with the 3 Steely Motorsports Burrell Arts. So they will need some teammates up there. We've seen great pace out of Ryan Curl, especially in qualifying. He was up top almost every single lap until Henry, Sam, and Mark were able to steal away on the last lap.
And obviously, we've seen how wild things ended when it came to the seniors earlier, especially without coming from a Tutwater drop tire out of turn 6. So it becomes the question, how do you feel the race will be now in this one, especially with a hand being shown by the leaders that they were willing to just work together up until that one moment?
I feel like if Ryan Curl is able to stay up front and give Wilkie some help this race, I think we see a good amount of battling, because it's going to be 2 Roderick Racing Developments versus 3 Stealth Machines. And I just see that turning into a battle of Coyote versus Stealth Chassis at this point. And we saw Wilkie be patient when he was by himself, but I feel like if he has a teammate up there, I don't see us seeing the patience out of Wilkie and Curl. I see a little bit more battling early on in this heat race.
Let's find out how much they're willing to fight out on the racetrack here today. Just moments away from getting back to racing action. Temperatures air-wise are back up to 77 now. Part of the broken clouds up above right now. Rain still a potential factor later today, but we'll find out if it does hit in Salem. But we're ready to go for Briggs Senior Competition. Our third Heat 2 of the morning. They'll make their way to the tram lines. Tutwiler looking to keep command. Still make their way through to the start zone. They all come across the area, side by side to start. We're off and away. Again, the inside line gets the best start. Again, first and third make the move, and Steele amongst those. Part of the shuffle and some off tracks. Wilkie amongst those getting shuffled.
Wilkie and his teammate collided. Ryan Curl, they collided together as we have another Coyote off. That's the 933.
Scotto going around at the back of the order, it looked like. Able to hold on, though, and get it back on the pavement. A little bit of wildness to start, but now you throw drivers like Wheeler in the mix immediately, and then some. 3-car breakaway yet again.
This is not how you want to see a race start, especially if you're Ryan Curl, because right now Ryan has no help to get up to the 3 pulled away. He's by himself. His teammate Wilkie and him collided early in lap 1, and Wilkie fell way down the order. I am going to be surprised to see how far he dropped down the order. He didn't drop back that far, at least he's able to hold up as we have a move going into turn 1.
Seen a couple of the drivers swapping around there. That includes drivers like Mole trying to make some pokes. Feels like we haven't talked about Layden much this weekend. One of the 2 brothers that we've seen race in this part of the region. 926 trying to find a way to make some inroads here this time. Some side-by-side builds up with the move. That is indeed Wilkie getting some spots. Trying to build them back up at least. Pass doesn't work this time.
Yeah, it wasn't just quite there for Wilkie. Mole was able to hold the outside. Even with dropping the tire, he was still able to get that spot back. But the lucky thing is for Wilkie, Wilkie has a teammate right behind him. He has Brady Eckhoff on the Coyote. He's also pitted under the Roderick Racing Development tent. So Wilkie has some help to try to get by the 3 Burrell Art machines in front of him, because it is 3 more Burrell Art machines in front of him. Same thing he saw in Heat 1, as Eckhoff's going to try to make the move on Mole as well. If he holds the inside going to last turn, he's going to be able to get this move done. He's clear. Move him up another spot. Now he's got to work back forward as Mole's going to send it right back on the inside. He's going to go side by side, a little bit of contact, still side by side. Eckhoff able to hold off for now, and Mole's going to lose another one. Not quite. They're going to go side by side. He's able to hold on to it for now.
That's Beckham Lewis joining in, but a curb hits, puts Lewis off the track with the contact back. Lewis for a second race, shuffled down the order with contact. It's not worked out well for the 943, has it?
It has not worked out well for him. Another off, and that one was a big one. We saw how slow he was going, coming up the hill. He fell back a good amount of spots. Once again, as we now have a 2-car pull away. Mark Steele's fallen off of the 2 of Sam Tutwiler and Henry Wheeler. He's fallen back, and he's going to fall into the clutches of Ryan Curl now.
Now here comes the question. Remember, Steele had the stronger long run in the last race, Hunter. Do you think Steele will be, again, having the chance to rebound that, especially since he's now fallen right back to the help of Curl with Consul,
I think Mark is going for the late race pace again. He's just looking at timing. He's doing the 1:13.7, and that was with no draft. And now he has the help of Ryan Curl, who just did a 1:13.1, but that was also reeling in to Mark. So the real question is, how much pace do they have together? And Wilkie, he's right there in the background. You can see him closing in, and he just set purple last time by.
All this is to say, as this entire field keeps on going here right now, Hunter, the interesting part in all of this conversation-wise is going to become pretty simple. You have 2 minutes to work with. Lots of these drivers in the line trying to group up together. Now, As the time continues to tick away, keep in mind, starting to see even the second pack continue to splinter.
Yeah, even the second pack is starting to splinter now. So it'll be interesting to see how they do getting up, as Wilkie made another move. He is now up to 5th, and he has the pace to continue moving forward. It's just a matter of how long it will take him to get up to Ryan Curl and Mark Steele now.
Exactly, and right now, keep in mind, looking at lap times, last time by, Mark Steele and Ryan Curl were quicker by a 10th or so, but a 10th isn't going to make the big difference. You need to get within the full pull of the draft if you want to have an opportunity to make this a 4-kart battle. There's the look at the drivers, 5th on back. Wilkie leads that group with the 989, the 948, and some of the others mixing in. We're coming up to 3 laps to go. This time by under a minute to go on the clock. And right now, give shout out to a couple of drivers. Mason Surgener has gone up 12 and 14th. You also have Keegan Widmeyer has gone up 10, make it 9. Was just inside the top 10 battle in this trap train before getting passed by Addison Ianello.
You talk about drivers that have had a good race. One driver that has not had a good race once again is Chase Adams. He is all the way back in 25th after starting 9th. Once again, not the way you want to see a race go. But Beckham Lewis is also having a similar race. We saw his mistake. He's all the way down in 20th.
Yeah, but right now, as the clock reaches zeros, the question's going to be, will there be any major shuffles and changes? Tutwiler and Wheeler have stayed status quo like they were doing previous Heat 1. The points leader coming in, and Tutwiler doing a phenomenal job so far in both the races as long as he prevents the mistakes. By the way, only 2 carts down laps or out. Holes and Colton Kelly are those 2 that are not turning laps currently. 2 to go. Right now, Tutwiler maintains in front.
And with 2 to go, I think there's just enough time for Mark Steele and Ryan Curl to get there. Last time by, they were 4/10 faster than your 2 race leaders. Mark Steele loves this kart to come in late, and has came in late again, once again. And Ryan Curl and Mark Steele are closing in dramatically to your 2 race leaders. They are going to be there by the end of this lap now. It's going to be a last lap race. Once again, though, it is 1 Coyote versus 3 stealth machines. It's going to be interesting to see what Ryan Curl can do. If I'm Ryan Curl, I have to think to myself, I didn't make a move on Mark now. Get myself up into 3rd. That way, when Henry looks back, he realizes it's not a teammate behind him anymore. It is a lone Coyote.
Let's see how this goes in the final time around. There's the setup for Wheeler trying to get back there. Tutwiler maintains, looks over the shoulder, look for Wheeler. 1 to go. Wheeler says, I'm going to force it through. Wheeler sends it deep, plants it in front, and now Tutwiler looks for the chance back with Steele over the rear end.
Yeah, Tutwiler's looking. If I'm Tutwiler, I'm going to wait until we get down to turn number 7. But you know Henry's going defensive. Even Mark isn't even going to work with him. Mark's going to go to the high side. They're 3 wide on entry. Henry able to hold on to it. Mark with the over-under on Sam Tutwiler. They're going to go side by side. Sam able to hold on to it for now as Will Wilkie now. He's able to get a move done on Ryan Curl.
How about that at the back of the group? Front of the group still battling it on out, coming up towards 12 and 13. Here we go, defensive again. Wheeler trying to hold on. Not getting looked at though, we'll see. They stay wheel to wheel, side by side for second for a moment. Now it's for 3rd instead with Steele. Will Tutwiler get the run? Wheeler trying to stay low. Tutwiler goes to the outside, tries to cut to the inside. Drag race instead, it goes to Wheeler.
It went to Wheeler, Sam Beltweiler in second, and Mark Steele in third, but the top three are all within a tenth when it came across the line. That is the tightest finish I think we've seen all day today, Justin.
Indeed it is. 48 1,000ths. Check that, 49 1,000ths. Wheeler over Tutwiler, Steele, Wilkie, Oswald, amongst those in the top five. Curl, Eckhoff, followed by Leighton Mole, Maui, and Addison Iannello does hold on to the top 10. Drupko, followed by DeMaster, Widmeyer. We also have O'Brien, Hickman, Surgener, Laser, Shoemaker, Isaacs, Nesbitt. Part of your top 20 today. But some big droppers down the order here. That includes Lewis, Benjamin, and Adams, all losing near or more than double-digit points, or spots, should say.
Yeah, that wasn't a good race for those drivers, and especially Beckham, Lewis, and Adams. That was 2 heat races in a row where they lose over 20 positions.
That's a tough break to come back from, to say the very least. We can definitely tell you before we get to the minis, a couple different heat points have come on through. So we'll touch upon that in a moment. Theo Stevens, again, remember setting the first pole in the Apex competition. Bo Laser, Logan Pollock, Ruben Garrido, the top 4. Hardball in the top 5. Received this note from family members in terms of pronunciation. McAllen Slayball is in the 6th position. Shelby's down there alone in front of Joseph Panico. You have Dylan Goddard, Jackson McNeely, Elias Jones around the top 10 with Remy Boss and Len Illick a part of the rest of the order here today. 12 karts, a part of that lineup card for this respective field here. And what did you feel you seen from the minis? Got pretty intense, didn't it?
It did get pretty intense, especially later on in this race. Even in the beginning, the middle kind of calmed itself down just a little bit, but they got back to racing when it came down to the finish. So, I mean, if it's the same heat race as Heat 1, I'd be happy. As long as they show us some action in the beginning and the end, that's all I need.
Indeed, there is that calm middle in a lot of the action, but it's all about being a big picture type of racer. Right now, just waiting for the word for when the karts are expected to go on the racetrack here before we get back rolling here. And obviously, most of these drivers just about in position. What do you feel that some of the drivers would be saying if you're having a conversation point to the sky?
You know, Justin, let me take a quick look out of the RV that I'm sitting in right now with Kart Chaser, and I'll tell you what I would think of the sky. Right now,
cloudy.
It's not very cloudy. It's the sun's still bright. There's a little bit of cloud coverage, but it's not looking too dark right now.
Yeah, look at this. It was supposed to be overcast and rainy all throughout the weekend. This is not raining. In fact, this is near the opposite of having a rainy condition, at least, for this part of the day. It's been pretty beautiful, actually. You could say temp-wise, not too hot, not too cold here at the facility either. It's been a pretty good time here at the state-of-the-art karting facility here in Quaker City.
It has been quite the good weather so far. I do know when me and Trevor got here on Thursday, the weather wasn't the greatest. It was a little bit gloomy, a little bit dark. I know they got a good amount of rain in the morning, overnight, Wednesday overnight, and coming in Thursday morning. They got a good amount of rain here. The ground was extremely wet when we got here. We tried parking the scissor lifts yesterday in their camera spots, and sadly, we got one of them stuck, but we were able to get it out, and it's in its position now.
Indeed, and as these drivers still get themselves ready, believe they now, yes, are getting the command to fire up those motors here, it looks like, Hunter. So they should have about a minute or so before they get rolling for racing action. You can see the others in the lineup still get through tech, the other side of the card. Now, as we mentioned, a couple different heat points are confirmed. AJ Roderick averaged a 2 in terms of point tallies from the previous races. Already secured the Briggs Masters pole over Bochetto. Ethan Bochetto specifically had to go to a tiebreaker on qualifying speed with Levi Wilbur. Christopher Ashcraft down to the 4th position, a part of some of the notables that are in a part of that fight. The micro, as you would expect, Kuiper Nelson up there. Miles Hale outscoring Wyatt Burlesman and Wyatt Nelson. Eva Hamill had to go to a tiebreaker over Toby Blue in the 6th position. Rhett Blue in 7th. Clyde Kleeman did pick up an instant responsibility penalty for 5 seconds. That sees one of the top drivers the points in 8th. A part of your micros. Seniors still to be announced. Everyone else is on the racetrack for the minis, though. We've seen again how wild things get, your expectations for how they're going to race in Heat 2.
I expect to see a pretty solid race. We saw great pace out of a good amount of the field. Logan Pollock had great pace in the middle of the race, I would say. We saw the KR have a good run early. We saw it come down to two drivers in the end due to contact. I expect Ruben Greer to have a better race this time. We saw him go off early in the race and just kind of had to work his way back through the field. Wasn't the greatest start for him.
So it looks like this entire field is just about set to go. This is our penultimate Heat 2 of the morning session. Go to the IME Modi motor packages later in the day. Remember, just 4 racing groups for later in the afternoon. As of note, no KA Masters this weekend, a part of this series. The field is set. Stevens leads them off. We're underway. Stevens gets clear. Pollock able to get the second immediately. The pack rumbles through sector 1.
And it was a clean start for most of the field. We saw a little bit of curb hopping and one driver off on the exit of that turn right there. But other than that, it's been a clean start.
That's what you hope for when it comes to a pack like this. Remember, Greer is one of those that needs to pick up some good points here too. That's going to be one of the names to watch for. Same for Laser. Right now, those drivers 5th and about 3rd respectively on the racetrack. Laser has that laser pointer focused on the back end of Pollock.
Yeah, and Greer had a decent start, only lost 1 position on the opening lap. He went from 4th to 5th, which is what we've seen happen reoccurringly. The inside lane gets that better jump initially, and that just is the problem with certain tracks. The inside lane just gets that better start. In this track, the way we're going seems to be that way as well, where Greer was just able to hold on and only lose 1. But it looks like we're about to have a race on our hand. Polak starting to look for a move for the race lead.
Pollock trying to find a way to go. See right now Ryan in the bumper. Look behind just to see if there's anyone thinking about a move possibly. No one. Although Laser, that was a big hit to the back bumper. All gave a little bit too much of an assistance to Laser to push right to the rear end of the 113.
Yeah, Laser just sent it in a little bit deep going into turn number 7. And that's something that can happen pretty easily, especially for these younger drivers, especially when you had a gap the previous couple of laps. He didn't have anyone in front of him. He was able to drive in as hard as he wanted. But that lap, he had Polak right in front of him and got in the rear bumper, and it ultimately cost him a spot in the long run. He was only lost 1, but now Ruben Greer right behind him. Is Ruben going to look for a move going down the hill? He's just going to push Laser for this time by.
Of course, as a driver, there's a lot of the body language we talk about that we see I know when it comes to Xander, he says he doesn't like it with the hand signals. Some do get that body language of the signals, though it seems to at least plan things out. Where's your leaning on it when you have a group like this between giving the signal to competitors compared to trying to keep all the secrets behind the wheel?
You can give the signals. It's always up to the driver behind you, though. Like, sometimes, if the driver gives me a signal and I see that there's a gap that we have to close down, I'll continue to push. But if they're giving me pointing me forward to try to work ahead, and we're right there, I'm going to make a move myself. Especially in the bigger races we go to, like CKNA Grands and all the KA senior fields we go through, especially with Stars, SCUSA, USPKS. If I'm sitting in like 5th position and it's a group of 5 of us and I'm getting told to point forward and continue working forward, I'm taking that and I'm going to pass the guy. I'm going to try to make a move unless we have a gap to close down.
I like that philosophy too, because sometimes you want to work with them, sometimes it's the same thought of, I've got to help myself too. It's time of action, absolutely. This lead group, by the way, 5 carts deep still, with under 3 minutes to work with. Stevens under attack. Looks like Pollock gonna take the chance to go, and Harbaugh says, here's my chance to help myself and go myself. Up to 2nd. As battle for the 3rd. Look at the send by laser. To the back goes Stevens all the way to 4th in contact. Had Greer with the rear end of them. Stevens and Greer held on, but they lost a ton of time.
They did lose a bunch of time. They were able not. Stevens was able to only lose the 1 spot to Greer, but they've lost a good amount of time to your front 3. I don't know if they're going to get there now unless you see good battling, as we see 1 driver off in the bottom of the screen.
Might have been Ilac, I believe, with the orange. That is one of the DPCs, I believe, here on property. All that to say, 2 minutes to go. That's the 3rd cart today already, interesting enough here, Hunter. That's at least climbed over the top of another one. 2 times they just kept going.
That is true. It seems like we don't really see that a lot in the KA side, but when we get to the Briggs side, it always seems almost every single weekend there is a Briggs category. We see people climb up over the rear bumper of another cart. And I've fallen victim to it myself. I got climbed over 2 times at CKNA Spring Nats 2 years ago. It just seems it's a much easier to do in the Briggs category, especially when you don't have to run the pushback bumpers. Now, when you have the pushback bumper, I don't see it happening near as much, just because there's that little bit of extra securance. You're just gonna push your bumper in. Now, with no pushback, you're just hitting the rear bumper. You're not having anything to slow you down, where if you have the pushback and you hit someone, you're going to hit them and you're going to push your bumper in, which is going to slow you down that little bit.
See some of the defensive maneuvers going on in this group still, by the way. Harbaugh is now the one up at the front. 3 laps to go. Laser in the popcorn seat again. Pollock on the bump. Harbaugh, remember, was an interesting case where top 5 speed from the opening lap went off the racetrack during qualifying, then with all the chaos streaked up to the front and held on by a sizable gap to win the race in heat number 1. Now heat 2 on straight up pace, keeping up. Aiden's been having a phenomenal appearance here in this series this weekend, to say the very least, as one of the privateers.
He has, and you talked about it earlier, he got his first pole award at a track he's never been to. So that's a great start to your weekend. You know you have the speed. Now it's just trying to get through the races cleanly, and we saw the Greer and him have that little bit of a mistake, and Greer climbed the rear bumper of Stevens, but they're kind of going back again now, and it looks like they're starting to pull away from the group behind.
Yeah, still seeing the pull away and still seeing a bit of a move off the racetrack laser. Laser held on to it with the left sides all off the pavement. It's now a 2-kart battle for the race win in Heat 2. Harbaugh looking to try and be the pole sitter. All while Stevens, right there is who you were talking about in terms of your point for the qualifying effort. Now taking a small
here comes
poke.
Ruben Greer.
Greer. Oh, contact! There they go! Some chaos abound again. And just like that, making their way through a sleigh ball to take away those spots.
Just as I said, they're starting to pull away. Greer was looking for a move, and it cost him more spots than it did on Stevens. Stevens only lost the 1 spot that he was going to lose to Greer, and Greer ended up losing even more. He lost 2 spots in that little mistake, as he's going to get 1 back going into turn 14.
Last lap already underway for Hardball as Stevens gets the run yet again. Here comes an Ersen, though. How about when we haven't talked about too much of Greer again? Getting loud. Greer streaks ahead. Here comes Slayball. Able to jump up again in amongst the top 5 positions or so. 2 leaders going to get interesting out of the front, though. Nothing doing yet for a move. They stay single file.
Pollock knows he needs to get a good heat race finish right here, so he doesn't want to jeopardize anything by trying to make a move for the lead early and then losing more spots, but they do have a big enough gap where they could start battling. They could have started battling as soon as they got to turn 1, and I don't think Theo Stevens and Ruben Greer would have got there, but Pollock just playing this one safe, sitting back. He's going to wait for the long stroke before the last turn.
Here we go. Opportunity there. Defensive again, but going lower. Pollock went lower down the straight. Side by side they go. Harbaugh gets it. Pollock in second. Laser in the top 3. Stevens falls behind Greer for the top 5 spots. Slayball in the 6th position. Goddard in 7th. Remy Boss in 8th. McNeely up in 9th. And Joseph Penico, who was one of the top drivers in the previous race, rounding up the top 10, 17 seconds back. Big swing in momentum for the 100. But that was one of the first times we've seen someone get to the inside of the defense down the straightaway up towards 15. We'll take a bit of a break. We're coming up towards one more race to go for heat racing action. Back in just a moment. The entire group of karts just getting all set to go as you see them zip onto the racetrack. The Briggs Jr. getting ready to roll. Up at the front of the order, Aiden Lawson, Daniel Dragunov, Jeff Price, and Gavin Dyer. Snyder and O'Neill in the top 6. Frey, Richard, Greitz, and Yutzi are all part of a top 10 that, remember, sees some of the top drivers in the points hunter down the order to start.
We did, and one of those drivers is starting 11th, AJ Stoner.
See some of the others like Blackerby. You also have Van Horn. Scheibel was in everyone in the top 3 in points coming in. Cooper Bull, Rylan Gordon, so many others mixed into the field as we prepare to go racing. We talked about some of the drivers that had some of the penalties that factored into points tallies. Obviously, everything up in the air potentially on how things look in this group.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this race goes. We saw good battle towards the later half of the race. We didn't see too much battling in the early stages. It was kind of a two-kart pole away, and then we got to a little bit of a battle. We saw the lead pack get up to about 5 or 6 in heat number 1, and then it kind of just fell apart in the later half.
Here we go, the field is ready to go. The happy Kart on the outside, ready to look for some fire off. All while Hayden Lawson leads the inside. Green, green, green. We're underway, and oh my goodness! There are 5-6 carts around. It is a melee to start.
Scheibel's one of them too. One of our guys in the top 3 in points is out early in this race.
Curious what happened there. You have Travis Van Horn and so many others mixed in. Opening lap calamity. That's our first stack up or contact in turn 1 all weekend, and it happens in the juniors.
I hate to say this, Justin, but it seems the junior category is known for the bigger pileups. We've seen it almost every single place we have gone to. It's always in the junior category, and then in the premier senior category, we usually see it too, like KA senior and KA junior at the more national side. And then even the Briggs, it's always senior, light, medium, and junior that we see the bigger pileups.
That got intense already to start. The leaders have a 3-car breakaway attempting to pull away here as these drivers all line up. Hayden Lawson is the one who stays up in front to start over Dragonoff and Price. For the time being at the very least. The 810, remember, seen a fair bit of him. Actually competed in some of the Canadian National Championship action just about a week ago. Came away as the runner-up in the Briggs Juniors in Canada, over in Hamilton.
As we have a pass right back for the lead. Dragonoff going up the inside. He's going to bring Jet Price with. And now we have a 5-kart battle for the lead as Dyer's going to go up the inside as Lawson as well.
And, well, there goes all the spots for Lawson as everyone looks to make passes. Dragonoff's happy Kart is up at the front of the field as a result. And all you can say is, you lose that preferred line for one corner, you lose them all.
That does seem to be a case, especially in that section right there where Hayden lost all of his positions. If you're on the outside, if you go up the inside and the guy hold the outside in turn number 7, you are stuck on the outside for the next 2 corners as we go right back down, and Jet Price is going to take the lead away from Dragonoff.
Jet Price now up to the front again. Want to stay out of the penalty box this time, obviously. And Jet's been pretty fast. Talked about this during Heat 1. He's had a rough time this season. There's more passing going on. Again, look at all this shuffling. You have a mixture of different teams in the mix, too. You have Steel Motorsports. You have Happy Kart. You have James Overbeck Academy. You have the Stoner Boys. Did we mention Stoner's was in the top 5 last scoring loop? He's in that swarm of karts moving ahead.
Stoner is having another good heat race once again, but it is a mess of karts up here. I believe we have about 15 karts as there goes 2 of them to collide.
Off the racetrack they go. That involves contact, potentially with Blackerby.
One of them was Frey. One of them was the Coyote of Frey. I do know that. I didn't get quite a good look on the other one, though. It kind of spread the group out now. As you have Yahtzee, it looked like he was going to go try for a move on Richard, but he thought better of it.
Biggest mover from Heat 1, McKay, was the other kart. You're right on Frey. terms of the number plate. So the 871 and 831 both plummet. Dragunov, meanwhile, long runs coming in, change for the lead. Sees Dyer amongst those moving. Lawson's recovered all the spots. But Dragunov, again, sliding the wrong way, though, it seems, lap time-wise. Ran in the 1:15.1, so the leader's 1:14.7's the last time.
And Hayden Lawson was able to make quick work with the group getting back together. He was able to get through the spots, and he's already back up to second now. He's made one move this lap on Jet Price, made it nice and clean, but now he's going to be looking for a move on Dyer. A little bit of contact there between Price and Lawson, but they're able to stay in line.
Able to keep things pretty steady there as a result. For now, they all see some more changes. Includes some drivers like Blackerby. Munzel's maybe taking some moves there. With under 2 minutes to go, Will Kreitz has actually got the fastest lap of the race so far. And he's all clear, by the way, for their tallies. Aiden Hartball will be the pole sitter for tomorrow over Logan Pollock and Theo Stevens. Now, with 90 seconds to go in this race, more importantly, somebody's going to have to do something here because this train is so many cars deep, so many carts lined up. And right now, Dyer, I don't think this is safe at all because you can see how where a lot of these runs are coming through from through 11.
Yeah, this line is just going to get bigger and bigger, especially once they start battling. It's not going to get too big as the field has spread out a decent amount, but it's still going to get close. I could see all the way back to AJ Stoner, so I could see 9 carts in the battle for the lead, possibly 10 with Jonathan Bohr only 2.1 back.
3 to go. No changes at the line that time amongst the top group, but Dragunov's long run speed we were talking about starting to slip back a bit. He was a 10th.5 off. And obviously we've seen this earlier. Does this increase the urgency to get around Dragunov? You can see drivers like Richard who needs points. He's right now back there. They're saying, let's go, we got to charge.
And Dragunov is just kind of waiting for them to, the front 3 to start battling, and then he'll be right there where he needs to be. It's just, it seems he doesn't have the greatest long run pace, but I was also noticing he gets really good out of the tighter corners, and then on the straightaway, it doesn't look like he has near enough top end as everybody around him.
That come down to gearing, or is that something different, you think? Coming into the difference there. It's a little bit ascending there, or sees Richard shuffle.
I believe it's more towards the gearing side because he's able, I don't think it's the motor, just because he's able to get really good out of the corners. I'm leaning more towards gears. Now Yahtzee up the inside. He's clear on Dragunov.
2 to go. 2 laps to go. See more sense that sees drivers like Richard go. Dragunov. And smile. You can see actually the frustration. That's opposite of a smile maybe under the helmet. He's dropped down the order. Up front. Here comes Price. Is the price right for him? At least one of the 2 prices is right. He's able to come away in second.
Able to come away in second, but with that move, they lost a decent amount of time to Dyer, so now Hayden Lawson has no choice. He has to try to work with Jet Price to close that gap right back down as we see a little bit of lap traffic that might come into play on the final lap here, Justin.
Here we go. They rumbled their way through, coming up to the white flag this time. No defensive moves, obviously, for the penultimate lap, but right now they're triple kart tandeming. Will there be a poke? Now that's defensive for Dyer. He tries to hug low. Right to the rear end is Price, but here comes everybody else as they back up into the rest of the group. Get a contact to the rear bumper again.
Price just hasn't been able to find a way around Dyer with the blocking. And you saw him look low there, just wasn't quite there. Now Hayden Loss is going to go up the inside of Price.
Price able to clear that back though, goes for the lead on the curbing. A squeeze back on Dyer. Lots of drop tires. Dyer squeezes through, but look who's in the mix. Stoner's a part of that cluster as they work their way through Sector 2 up to 3.
AJ Stoner always seems to find a way around, and he's up to second, but now he's going to lose one to Jeff Price as he opened up for the corner. Jeff Price shoved one in.
Price shuffled back. Now back and forth they go. This is what Dyer needs to see. He looks straight at him. He's got the gap. Lost, there's no mistakes. The position's there. Stoner drives to the pack, but it's Dyer who holds them back. Dyer gets it done over Stoner, Price, Yeltsin, and Lawson, the top 5.
I don't know about you, Justin, but I thought that was a great race. It always felt like we'd have 1 to 2 laps in the race where there wasn't going to be much action, but out of nowhere, we always saw at least 5 to 6 go-karts battling for the lead.
That was an intense battle again, putting on a good show up at the front. Coster down at 11th note, Jordan Lapham down to 14th. Gabe Clevenger picked up a lot of spots compared to Heat 1. He's able to drop it to 15th. How about Shaba though? 16th for the 821. That is third in the points. They didn't get the best of runs here in Heat 2.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest run in Heat 2. JJ O'Neill also down. He did not finish that race. That's going to be a hard one to come back to, especially after having a really solid performance in Heat number 1.
So, obviously, it's lunchtime, Hunter. Quick thoughts before you get some food on property.
So far, the morning sessions, really solid. Now we have a lot to look forward to in the afternoon sessions. I know the fields aren't as big, especially in the K senior and K junior side, as they are in the 206 side, but I still feel like we're gonna have good action. We have a lot of fast guys, especially in K senior. We have Isaac Malquit, Henry Wheeler. So those two are gonna go battling at it. And you can't forget about the locals that know this track like the back of their hand, that can come perform, and we've seen it so far today.
On the note, it's time for some lunch. Let you take your breaks. We'll see you in a bit. Warm-ups hit the track at 1:20 p.m. Eastern. See you in a bit.